Hey everyone, that increasing divide between the political left and the political right that has been taking place in recent years all across the Western world, almost seemingly in a coordinated fashion. That's the thing that I find most disturbing. And it's like, I don't fall for any conspiracy theory nonsense, but wonder why. Doesn't it make you curious, make you question? Like, why does it seem to be that the same kind of thing is happening all over the Western world? In countries that are separated by thousands and thousands of miles and entire oceans. I mean, at the very least, regardless of which side of the political divide that you fall on, you know damn well that division, the narrative of division, has been ramped up and escalating for years now. And most recently, creeping into very dangerous territory. I mean, we've heard the derogatory labels and statements and rhetoric used by many of those leftists in the media directed at anyone who disagrees with their progressive or leftist policies. And you hear them where they call you a Nazi, they call you far right, they call you an extremist. I mean, like I say, the derogatory terms, labels, and rhetoric used towards anyone on the right side of the political spectrum or divide these days, I mean, you've heard it all, right? I mean, come on. It's undeniable and omnipresent all around us. We hear it time and time again. But now, like I say, they're escalating it to another level entirely. Headline out of CBC News, Technology and Science, Canadians among most active in online right-wing extremism, research finds. UK-based study finds 6,600 online channels with Canadian involvement. This is reported by Thomas Daigle, June 19th, 2020. So yeah, Canada, not the US, is the big haven for far-right extremists these days. Well, according to this article, and according to this author. And where are they getting this information from? Well, let me help you out there. A report released Friday on Canadian involvement in right-wing extremism online should serve as a wake-up call about the widespread nature of the movement and highlights a growing shift towards the use of less regulated platforms, says an expert on the phenomenon. The research, led by UK-based Institute for Strategic Dialogue think tank, identified more than 6,600 online channels, pages, accounts, or groups where Canadians were involved in spreading white supremacist, misogynistic, or other radical views. On some forums, Canadians were found to be highly active, even more on average than users in the US and Britain. On one particular message board called Politically Incorrect on the fringe site 4chan, researchers found Canadian users created 1,636,558 posts, representing 5.71% of posts from all countries. The study suggests when the numbers were averaged out using each country's estimated internet using population, Canada was shown to be producing more content than anywhere else. Barbara Perry, director of Ontario Tech University's Centre on Hate, Bias and Extremism, called the Canadian tally really disconcerting. For us to be up there with the heavy hitters, it's a wake-up call, she said. Gee, I wonder if it could have anything to do with the reactionary right becoming even more reactionary to an ever-encroaching activist and authoritarian left. I think so. And once again, I don't align with either side, but I'm definitely observant and can see what the hell's going on and what's been happening for years in this country. And not just this country, but like I say, the Western world. The leftist media and political class are the ones that are constantly stirring up the hornet's nest, then subsequently claiming victimhood. Same thing over and over and over again. Rinse and repeat. The authors of the 47-page study, which was partly funded by Public Safety Canada, whoa, hold her now. Ho, right? A little disturbing, right? Public Safety Canada, that's a federal department. That's part of the federal government of Canada. And they are partially funding, which, think about it, is now currently occupied and run by the Trudeau Liberals, with the NDP support, because the Liberals are a minority government, so they have to rely on that NDP support, or like I say, the leftists who aren't in their party to keep them in power and maintain this current structure. But I mean, think about it. The leftists, the political left in this country, those who are in serious positions of power and authority, which once again, I never claim to give any of these people this kind of power or authority, but yeah, the rest of Canadians have, and they're using that power and authority to create studies targeting their political opponents or people on the opposite or opposing side of the political aisle. Now, you never hear anything talked about in terms of far left, right? But it's always referred to, and not just Canada, but the Western world, is anyone that's active on the right. There's no such thing as a right winger these days. Not according to those in the media. It's everyone that disagrees with their progressive ideology, stance, or policy position are now deemed as being far right. So a federal department of the Canadian government that is now run by leftist liberals are now targeting and using this study as a means to lay cover for what? What are they going to use this kind of information or this kind of study for going forward? I'll leave that up to you to question or ponder. Myself, I'm pretty sure they're going to use it for some very nefarious reasons. It says it's one of the most comprehensive analysis of its kind. And while the paper offers only a snapshot captured before 2020, observers of far right extremism suspect this year will only prove worse. Globally, in recent years, we have seen a surge in activity by right-wing extremists in terms of violent mobilization, protests, but also the use of disinformation and coordinated hate online, said Jacob Davey, ISD Senior Research Manager and a study co-author. Ultimately, Canada hasn't escaped that trend. The researchers describe right-wing extremism as being characterized by a racially, ethnically, and sexually defined nationalism, often framed in terms of white power, centered on perceived threats by minority groups. Not all the online chatter is illegal. Much of it is covered by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but the authors still consider it problematic. Right? So if it's all protected speech, or most of it is protected speech, basically what it is they're admitting that's just speech that they disagree with or they find offensive. But for the most part, it's completely legal and actually understandable if you are paying attention to the kind of divisiveness and political toxicity that's permeating from, like I say, those in the halls of power, especially in the Canadian government, but yeah, from a lot of the other Western governments as well. But I mean, that's what I mean. Like I say, the leftists and their media counterparts and mouthpieces have been pumping up and stoking racial tensions for years now. And tensions between men and women, the gender tension, the gender wars, right? And the race wars. They're constantly stirring that shit up constantly, right? Just mixing it up and sometimes quite vigorously, trying to stir it up as best they can. And then once again, once they see the reaction because they've stirred it up, then they're like, oh, what's going on? Hey, where'd all these right-wingers come from? Well, because they're reactionary, because you fucking far left dipshits have come out of the woodwork with your authoritarian mindset on full display and flashing like a big giant beacon. I mean, just the sheer fact that the right was never labeled as this in recent years until, like I say, the rise of the left. Well, I wonder why. Like I say, the left, they love misdirecting or projecting. That's a big thing that the left seems to do, and they're very, very good at it. Listen, I will admit, in terms of political competition or who's winning in the culture war or the info war, yeah, the left is dominating the right to a substantial degree. And of course, come on. They basically got most of the political class, the media class, academia, and now even activist judges such as the Supreme Court Chief Justice in Canada on their side, constantly touting identity politics and playing up the leftist identity politics card or social justice warrior nonsense, right? So, come on. You know that this rise of the right is a reaction to the left, who has gained and garnered and entrenched a tremendous amount of political, social, and economic power that they wield and use like a club to batter or harm their opponents or to misrepresent or stereotype their opponents, right? Because, yeah, rather than actually get into an engaged dialogue with their political opponents or counterparts, no, they'd rather just label them or stereotype them as just bad, evil, immoral people and then just move along. That is a very, very lazy, inept, and very corrupt way to try to deal with this kind of political divide. If they were truly concerned about the divide and trying to figure out ways to bring us together and find some way to unite Canadians or anyone in any particular Western country at this point in time, they'd be bringing these far right people and far left people together to engage in actual dialogue and figure out where they can find commonalities or agreements, right? Because that's how you tamp down tensions. But that's not what's happening, is it? No, it's all about creating even more divide and jamming that wedge down even further. Like I say, these people are vile, evil, and highly unethical in how they're promoting and responding to ever-increasing tensions. And not just Canada, but like I say, the rest of the developed world. Anyways, folks, I'll place a link to this article in the description of the video below. Basically, what it does for the rest of the article, for the most part, is talk about, the incel, like isolated instances or examples of an individual or a couple individuals. And like I say, use that as a means to stereotype anyone that disagrees with their political ideology or political orthodoxy to, like I say, paint them all as far-right extremists or, well, Nazis. That's another term they love to use these days, right? And I mean, think about it. What is the goal? What could possibly be the intention behind people who are trying to paint their political opponents as Nazis or far-right extremists? Probably not good intentions, right? Probably got a lot of nastiness in store for those people. So watch out, be wise, be wary, because tensions are definitely on the rise. And now, so are threats. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.